Hi, my name is Abigail Ellington. I help people understand themselves, others, and the world on the deepest levels for trauma healing and spiritual awakening. Today's video is all about trauma. What trauma is, what it is for the soul, why do we go through trauma, why does the soul want to go through trauma, what's the point of healing your trauma, what's the point of even caring about this? I want to share it all for you in this video today. So in psychology, trauma is any distressing experience usually categorized as a severe event or prolonged abuse. So car accidents, really intense events are most commonly what we think of when we think of trauma. But I think more of us know now in the world that trauma can be smaller, more insignificant, and it doesn't have to be a severe event or even physical abuse. Emotional abuse is trauma as well. And it is the most common form of trauma in the world that we live in, because you see, there are consequences for physical abuse, for violence, but there aren't any consequences or accountability for emotional violence in our world. So I think that most of the violence and trauma comes from emotional abuse in the modern worlds that we live in, like the US, Australia, those types of countries. Obviously not. There are a lot more countries that have, I won't go into that today, but emotional harm goes unnoticed, and it's an easy way for people to, hurt each other without facing legal consequences. And it's also the one that goes unnoticed the most because of what is called gaslighting. And so in general, besides that, this world that we live in is traumatic to the soul. The soul knows love, peace, unity. This world is set up based on control, destabilization, lack of safety, and separation, disconnection from each other, disconnection from our communities. And so this is generally traumatic to the soul. It is destabilizing to the soul. The soul is not used to it. And without the soul, the human body in general needs rest, peace, safety, stability. And many of the systems in our world are not built for the rest, safety, and stability of the human body. We have jobs where we're expected to work 40 hours a week. Some people work 40, 50, 60 hours a week, not getting enough rest in environments that aren't emotionally safe, sometimes not physically safe. And obviously this is traumatic. And even from our younger years, we go to school and the environments are really toxic. There's bullying. No one can really be themselves. There's so much anxiety and insecurity and comparison. That is traumatic. So basically, even if you don't identify as someone who has been through trauma, or you think that your trauma is less than others, like let's say you hear people talking about their trauma and you're like, well, my friends have all been through way more than me, so I haven't really been through that much. This whole entire world is trauma. We've all been through trauma. And oftentimes the people who think they haven't been through trauma have actually been through emotional abuse or emotional trauma, and they might not know it yet. But we're going to get into that at a later part of the video. First, I'm going to share a little bit more. So trauma, it is inherited to the body and the soul into this lifetime through your family line, your past lives, and your present life. So all of the trauma that you're carrying in your body right now, you got some from your family, from your parents, you have some from your past lives, and you have whatever you've experienced in your present life. And so you have the opportunity to transmute this karma, and by doing this for yourself, you assist the healing of the entire world, the growth of the entire world. And the way that inherited trauma works with the family line is that you carry traumatic memory. In your childhood, you experience the energy dynamics of your entire family, and those energy dynamics are passed down through all the lines, and you absorb that energy dynamic. And many people who are called cycle breakers or generational curse breakers, they often incarnate into very distorted, abusive family lines in order to transmute this trauma for the betterment of the world and the betterment of the collective. And when we do this, not only do we help ourselves, there are so many benefits to healing your own trauma and going on your own healing journey, but it also benefits the world, you know? And we want to build something beautiful, and I find it quite funny. There's so much going on in the world, and like on the news, there's like murderers. I know like murder stories are super big on YouTube. And we have the ability to change the world within us by changing ourselves. And so, next thing that I'm going to share is that oftentimes you can think that you had a normal childhood, but oftentimes those normal childhoods are the most traumatic. Until I met my most recent ex, I actually had no idea that my mom was abusive until I was like 20. Yeah, until I was 20. I had no idea that my mom was abusive. And I was carrying this idea that I had a good childhood. I had a normal childhood. My parents provided for me. My parents bought me a lot of things. They got me a lot of gifts. I always had everything I needed. And the reason why I didn't know is because denial is a survival skill that children develop during childhood trauma. So regardless of the trauma of the world, because of the way the world is set up, most families are set up in a way of control, destabilization, lack of safety, because the families are what creates the world, right? If the families are negative, the world is negative. And so since we live in a negative world, most of the families in this world are toxic, negative systems of control, systems of oppression, and not healthy. But when we grow up in it, we think it's normal. We think it's healthy because we don't know anything else. Especially when we grow up around people who are the same as us. We think this is just the way that the world is. And many people carry this with them, this form of denial. And I call it an illusion, because it's the illusion that control is normal, control is love. Because think about it. If a family's abusive and they're constantly telling you, I love you, or your mom loves you, or this, we all love you, we're family, we love each other, we're family. But in the truth and the experience of that family is disconnection, conflict, no conflict resolution. It's not love. But then you're taught that that is love. And so you go into your normal life believing through this denial and through this illusion that love is control, that love is abuse, really. And so many people never actually move past this first illusion. And it's through the ascension of the planet that we're on right now, it's becoming easier and easier for people to heal and move through illusions. Truths are coming to the surface within ourselves and in the world. But many people today, still to this day, have never moved past this first milestone that I did when I was 20, where you realize that what you thought was normal was never actually normal. And this is called an illusion. And so since many people never moved past this first illusion, the cycles repeat. Through each family line, the energies, the dynamics, they're passed down, and this creates generational trauma until one person comes along, and if you're watching this video, this person is probably and breaks the cycle and heals the trauma and sees what wasn't seen, sees the truths that weren't seen. And healing generational trauma is one of the most beautiful things that you can do just for yourself. In spirituality, healing generational trauma can activate your dormant gifts. So these can be spiritual gifts, psychic abilities, and it even just like frees your channel, frees your body, frees your mind from the restraints that kept you from seeing your talents, seeing your gifts, expressing yourself, speaking with your voice. It unlocks your dormant gifts. And then you are now able to share those gifts with the world and make this world a better place. And so for me, I had a season of my life where I was healing a lot of generational trauma. And one of the gifts that I uncovered during this healing season was I became able to channel energy healing. Reiki is what most people call it. I wasn't trained in Reiki, but I had this almost remembering of just how to do it. Was never trained, and I know how to channel energy and do energy healing now. It was one of the, like I said, I moved all the gunk out of my body to come back to the true self. And that's really why we heal trauma, to come back to our true self, to who we really are, who we really can be in this world. And so your present trauma plays a really big significance in how you can heal. So if you are looking to heal your trauma, the first thing that you need to look at is the state of your current relationships. Your current relationships show you what your childhood trauma was. You will always be attracting and choosing people that are like you, that are like your parents. And if you want to, this is not a negative thing. This is like a beautiful opportunity, because I can't really remember all of my childhood. Most of us can't. It's just like this way far in the past. But the universe shows you what your childhood was like through these toxic relationships. And when you observe them, you can start to see this is what went wrong in my childhood. And I experienced this with my most recent ex, like I shared with my mom, is that I saw that he was just like my mom, just like her. And I came to the conclusion that he was extremely manipulative and narcissistic. And even just the way he acted, the tactics he used, they were on point to my childhood. And this helped me awaken and see the truth that my childhood was not normal. There are people in my life that are not treating me how I'm supposed to be treated. And so this is what childhood trauma does with illusions, and especially gaslighting. The point of manipulation is to do it in the unseen, is to not be seen for it. And that is why people gaslight. And so when that happens to you as a kid and you don't have the knowledge that you need to question, or even the development to form your own opinion about your parents, you tend to be primed to just be manipulated. And that manipulation works a lot better, where you think you're the problem. You can't even see that the behavior is wrong. And so your current trauma, present trauma, is an opportunity to see and release the patterns from the past. It's also an opportunity to gain insight into yourself and to the world. The more healing you do, the more you understand yourself, the more you understand others, and the more you understand the world, the more insight you have. And if you're someone that values knowledge, values truth, insights are super exciting. For me, they are super exciting. I love insights. I love seeing deeply into everything. And so the point of trauma, many souls seek out trauma because the deeper you feel pain, the deeper and more amount of things you go through, the deeper you can feel love, the deeper that you can feel joy. And the more you heal, the deeper parts of this joy that you'll be able to access. I've observed this in the world. A lot of people are emotionally numb. They don't really get strong emotions, or they don't really get strong negative or positive emotions. I don't know if you've noticed this. It's like they're just kind of somewhere in the middle. But to really truly live a beautiful life, since emotions are such a huge part of life and this experience, to be able to feel love and joy so deeply is a beautiful experience that many souls deeply want to have. From another spiritual perspective, you have to know what isn't love to feel what is love. And that's kind of what I was just saying. But yeah, there's more reasons. For example, as the soul progresses on the spiritual journey through the different lifetimes, it begins to be easier and more intuitive for the soul to move through life. So older souls may choose to go through a lot more trauma in one life so that they can kind of test their skills. How much can I go through? How much can I keep my integrity and my heart intact with? And it's really beautiful how this works. It's like, for newer souls, small amounts of separation and control and this traumatic world can kind of like break the heart and close it forever. And they become what we know as narcissists. And it's kind of like the path of learning how to move through the darkness and still make it to the light out of the darkness. I didn't write a closing sentence for my script, so just taking some deep breaths. Yeah, so that was today's video all about trauma, understanding trauma. Thank you for watching. My name is Abigail Ellington. Make sure to subscribe, comment, like this video if you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one.